So the question I get all the time is, Areeb, when will I start seeing leads and results from content? I've been posting for a while. When will I actually start seeing results? And here's the reality from working across 50 plus industries. We work with a lot of industries, applied our formula towards, like doctors, lawyers, any service-based industry you can think of, coaching programs. Of course, content and ads is, a thing that works for pretty much every service-based industry that we work with. Because of course, content and ads is one of those things where, any industry can pretty much run it, but how it's run and what you're actually saying in front of the audience, what your messaging is like, is usually the only thing that makes you A, stand apart from your competitor, and then B, gives your prospects a reason to also why to go with you in the first place. And before we do get started, I also want to make sure that we understand that content and ads is something, and of course content specifically in this video is something everybody could do. It's not a, like, hey, I don't have a coaching program or my target audience market isn't big enough so I can't do content. That's not true. There are people literally with less than 5,000 followers making 6 to high 5 figures a month on a monthly basis just by that following. They're just talking to the right people and then reaching those people on a consistent basis. Because it's very important to understand how this works in the first place and what the power is of content before you even begin creating it. Because if you're in the mindset of like, yeah, I just want to try this out for 2 months, I'm just going to post a few videos here and there and, leads are pretty much going to start flooding in. You're probably not going to achieve much. This is like, people back in the day, everybody had a YouTube channel. They tried creating like 2 to 3 videos thinking they would be the next, big thing, but it didn't work out because it actually requires some work. So in today's video, I just want to give you a timeline of what you should expect before heading into the content realm and also why you definitely need to do it, because it's just one of those things going into 2026, or depending on when you're watching, it's required. Like I'm making this video in 2025, depending on when you watch it, it's just going to be one of those things where content is needed for every single business. So let's talk about the first 2 months when you start creating content, and let's just assume you're doing this yourself. Engagement would be minimal, but you're establishing consistency and finding your voice, and this is where most businesses give up because they're like, Areeb, I'm posting content on a daily basis, but nothing's really happening. Like I'm still getting 200 views, I'm still getting 50 views in some videos. Nothing's really moving the needle, and this depends on the niche as well, and also depends on, of course, who you're targeting, because those viewers could of course be very well be your buyers. Because imagine a room full of 200 people who are somewhat interested in your product. I mean, that's a room you would be pretty much easy to sell, and that's something people sometimes neglect as well. But when it comes to the first 2 months, let's say you're starting from like a low follower count on Instagram or TikTok, engagement would be on a minimum. And this is just logically speaking, because you need to make sure that everything is warmed up, you're creating the right content, you're finding your tone of voice. For the first 2 months, like just lay the foundation and make sure to keep going. The worst thing you could do on your content journey is stop, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people, like within your circle, you follow a lot of people, and content is something that works pretty well for them. So it's not one of those things, it's not like a roll of the dice, like it's a system and it's something you have to build, just like your business. Like you put in a lot of work to build your business, so you have to make sure that you're translating, not nearly as the same effort, of course. I'm not trying to say that, I'm not saying you have to work day and night on it, although that would help. All I'm trying to say is it's just one of those things where you have to put in the work to make sure that it actually produces that ROI you're looking for. Because if you're in the mindset of like, yeah, just quick buck, like a lot of people try to get into the crypto market or the stock market thinking if they put $200 in, they're going to get like $6,000 out. That's like the wrong mindset to be in whenever starting with content and also paid advertising. So very, very important is to make sure that the foundation is set properly. So your mindset could be in a place where you're like, okay, I know this might take a few months, maybe like 12 months plus. So you need to make sure you're giving it enough time and, just test out multiple types of content. Don't be super linear. If one thing is not working, change strategies, pivot. So month 3 to 6, and depending on, of course, whatever strategy you try to apply, what I recommend usually is if you're in a very niche market, start with ads as well. So this is a strategy I sometimes recommend to people, is if they're, let's say, they want to get to a goal faster, or they want, maybe you're a local business or you have a very specific niche of demographic, you can run some, brand awareness ads or some profile visit ads for a very low cost. So this is what this is going to do is it's going to put your content in front of the right people pretty much right away, because the algorithms are extremely smart. Like you press ads, your ad is going to be seen by the right people, but you have to make sure you're doing that with the right type of videos. And we're pretty structured with that whenever it comes to, putting an ad out for a profile visit ad, as simple as that. And these are just low cost campaigns to make sure you're in front of the right people. And if you're going to do this, I always suggest like, make this into a long-term thing as well. You need to make sure you're doing content for a long time, because the profile visit campaigns, people seeing you for the first time, they have to see you on a repetitive basis. So you have to post consistently, and then if you're going to be running profile visit campaigns, you have to make sure that on a month-to-month basis, you're picking out some videos that have done well organically in terms of averages, and then you push those out a little more. What this is going to do is going to give you that extra push that your profile needs to start growing with the right audience. So month 3 to 6 is where your expertise starts to get noticed. People who have been following you quietly, maybe from ads or organically, they begin engaging and early opportunities rise. You'll maybe perhaps notice some DMs coming in, or some people, inquiring about the services, of course, depending on the industry. You'll notice some DMs coming in. You'll notice people mentioning your content a bit more in terms of, just calls or your day-to-day appointments that you're taking. This is something that we've noticed happens as well. So month 3 to 6 would be kind of like your early signs of, a tad bit motivation for you to keep going and making sure that you're creating content on a consistent basis still. You're not stopping. The low numbers are still not demotivating you. And of course, you're keeping the strategy in hand. You need to make sure you stick with the plan. You're seeing what other creators within your industry are doing. You perhaps make some videos similar to them because they've already perhaps figured out a style of content or some sort of engagement metric that works for them. And if they're pretty much exactly what you do, I suggest you can pretty much give that ideas a go as well, because it'll just help you, like, A, come up with content ideas faster because you're literally just using what they had, and then B, it's a proven concept. So it's not going to be a guessing game as much. And you'll be surprised, like, if you start doing that, like, your engagement sometimes skyrockets because you're literally using a proven method that your competitors are using, but now you're using for your specific videos. And then month 6 to 12, the compound effects pretty much kicks in. Like, older content is working while you pretty much sleep. And then prospects mention that they've been following you for months before reaching out. This is something that happens to me time and time again whenever, because we do ads and like content both. And my Instagram isn't necessarily all that. Like, we don't have like 200,000 followers with like 1 million views clicking in left, right, and center, because our audience is pretty niche as well. It's like business owners who are, making over 30 to 50 grand on a month-to-month basis. We're pretty much talking high-level conversations about how to help them scale using the content strategies. So that's pretty much our niche. And then I've had this in multiple sales calls where people will come to me, they'll mention some of my content, some of my tactics are being referred back to me because I've already watched it. So it makes the whole overall process of the actual sale much simpler as well. So month 6 to 12 is pretty much where you see the compound effect kick in. And by the way, you can accelerate this process or make it less painful by hiring the right people to do this for you. If, of course, you have the access capital to do it. If you're in the beginning stages, if you're making anywhere like less than, let's say 30 grand on a month-to-month basis, I still suggest do it yourself, or, offload some responsibilities of the content to like maybe an editor, or if you already have editing covered for some reason, you could do script writing. Wherever it is, you need to make sure that instead of doing 100% of the work, you take a big chunk and then offload that to, somebody else. And then later on, you can, of course, hire an agency to pretty much take care of the whole process and just do the whole thing for you, so you can actually focus on, the thing you're actually good at and the whole reason why you started the business in the first place. Because I'm sure you didn't start the business to edit videos and do scripting and create content. It's just a byproduct to get you more business for the work that you're actually good at. So you actually have to make sure that you don't take full responsibility of the content and then offloading a majority work of the content to an outsource, because we're not experts at, because I don't expect business owners to be expert at like email marketing, SEO, meta campaigns, content. So these are stuff you have to kind of like offload to other experts so they can help you accelerate, so they can help you scale your business much faster. Because theoretically you can do this on your own, but then again, there's only 24 hours on a daily basis and you'll just scale way slower. If you want money tomorrow, this is what you do. You have to spend money to make money. This is pretty much the game. And then 12 plus months, so content becomes kind of like a lead generation engine. Once you have content and then also kind of like an ad engine running for you, this is where you pretty much have leads on autopilot. You have to make sure, of course, your sales process is dialed as well, so you can pretty much handle all of these inbound leads coming in. But of course, let's say if you're super high ticket, you don't even need perhaps, like a big sales team. You can do it yourself, or you can just have like one closer to help you close the deals. But if you have like a big market and you have like a tons of inbound leads pouring in, you have to make sure that you're maximizing those opportunities by having like a proper, maybe like a setter, or like if you're having a lot of booked calls, you have to have a closer on the calendar, because there's only so much you can do again. So this is one of those things where you start building this entire team and you're pretty much collecting cash on an automated basis. So a couple things you need to look at, and this is very like surface level. So consistency beats perfection. This is something I know it's been said by every motivational speaker out there at this point, but you have to make sure that you're consistent when it comes to content. I don't think there's anything as personally like being perfect in terms of content. When I hear that, it's just me translating it to people saying that they're just kicking the can down the road. Just start on the content. It's just one of those things where you just have to start. We have phones out here that can they can take brilliant videos. All you need is a tripod, or you can literally just use your hand as a tripod, record some videos. They have good mics, and just start posting content. Just open the camera, talk about what you're good at, and just post. Like, that's how simple it is. And then, of course, as time passes, that's where you upgrade the setup. That's where you hire an agency. All of these things you do as time passes. And then also relevance wins. You have to make sure that you're staying true to the goal. Like, if you're creating content just to create content, like meme and stuff, like, I don't necessarily recommend that. That's not what this channel is about. That's not what we do that's not what we do as a business as well. We try to only serve people who have a business and they're looking to scale their business using the content as a mechanism, not trying to, like be the next Kim Kardashian or something. So you have to make sure you're staying true to the goal and making sure you're only creating content that is relevant to your specific ICP, ideal customer profile. And then last but not least is like having a process to create and publish content will beat the random burst of activity. So these are like these motivational spikes. Like, yeah, I'm going to create content. I'm going to go on this journey. I'm going to make sure that, I'm creating 4 YouTube videos on a weekly basis. And then you have this burst again and then you do nothing. So I would rather have you like on a flat line and then a little bit up and down rather than, just big spikes, because that doesn't necessarily do anything. Because if you take those big spikes, then you'll notice that, okay, like -4 + 4 is equals to 0. So you have to make sure that you're still making like +1 +1 +1 +2 +2 progress instead of just, +4 -4, and then you're back to 0. So you have to make sure that you're being consistent, and then you have systems in place which allows you to keep consistent as well. Even in my case, I'll give you examples. Like I have of course editors. I have people who, like, of course we have a lot of editors within the agency. We have a lot of script writers. We have to make sure they consistently have work. It is my responsibility to make sure that I'm giving my editors work, because if I don't, then they don't necessarily, get paid at times. So it's kind of like something I have to do as well. So you have to make sure that you're creating systems in place that also makes it easier for you, but it also becomes kind of like a responsibility for yourself as well to create content. And if you expect just content marketing by itself to work like paid ads, you'll quit too early. But if you see it for what it is, an asset that compounds over time, the timeline will make perfect sense. The best time to start was 6 months ago. The second best time to start is today. So the whole premise of this video was like A, start creating content, and then B, just create systems around you that helps you actually be consistent on the content in the first place. So that'll be all for today's video. If you did find value in this video and you want all of this implemented for you, we do have a Calendly link in the description. Of course, this is only for businesses who are like already doing at least 50K or a month on a month-to-month basis. We can pretty much help you automate this entire process, and it'll only take you 45 minutes on a week-by-week basis. But other than that, for more free stuff, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And then I also post a lot of valuable stuff on my actual Instagram page as well. And yeah, if you do have any questions, just leave it onto the comment section below, or you can also personally DM me on my Instagram, and I'll make sure to check it out. I'll talk to you next week.